All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I am the doula Darcy. If you do not know me, I am a doula business coach. I've worked in advertising and marketing for 10 years and then had my babies myself and then became a postpartum doula. So I've been a postpartum doula for 13 years. And one of my passions when I'm working with families is sleep. I think because I had 3 babies in 4 years and so was just so sleep deprived for so long. Now I just love helping families, like, first of all, helping mom take a nap while I'm there, but also just teaching them about sleep, teaching them how to get more sleep. And I just think it's so important for mental health, physical health. It just makes everything better. So I'm thrilled to have Jayne Havens here. Jayne is the founder of the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management, and we are going to be talking all about why adding sleep consulting to your doula business is such a great idea. So Jayne, I'm going to just have you kick it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can just dive in. I've got some questions for you.
Perfect. Thank you all for being here. Darcy, thank you for having me and hosting this Zoom. I'm excited to chat with all of you. My quick story is that I'm a mom of 2. I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I have a former background in catering sales. When my son was born 10 years ago, I decided to leave catering because I didn't want to be working nights, weekends, holidays. I wanted to be home with him. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a handful of years, which I loved. When my son was an infant, he was a great little sleeper until about 4 months. He hit that 4-month sleep regression that I know everybody has heard of before. And he went from sleeping 11 or 12 hours at night to waking up every hour on the dot, just needing a pacifier to help him back to sleep. But it was brutal and it rocked my world as a first-time mom. I didn't know why that was happening or how to fix it. And at the time, this was before Facebook groups. This was before a lot of the resources that we have available to us now. I took to the books, I took to the blogs, I was on the baby center message boards trying to figure out how to get him to sleep, and I did. I implemented some sleep training, and within 2 or 3 nights, he was back to his good old self, sleeping through the night, and it was entirely life-changing for me. Fast forward, my daughter was born 4 years later. I knew so much more the second time around, and I was able to work to establish healthy and independent sleep habits for my daughter really from the beginning. So not as much formal sleep training was necessary, but I was just so empowered by both of those experiences that I decided to turn my knowledge into something that was a bit of it turned into a career. I had been informally helping friends and friends of friends through sleep training for years, just because I was good at it and I liked helping friends solve that mystery for their own family. And eventually I decided to get certified to work as a sleep consultant. And what was intended to be a little bit of a side hustle or passion project while caring for my own 2 kids very quickly morphed into a really lucrative career that was, financially, that was really exciting, but also from like a passion project perspective, it was really exciting as well to have something that was mine, that I was building from the ground up, and that I could do while taking care of my own 2 kids. I didn't have to put them in childcare. I was able to build my business with them at home with me. Not too long after becoming a sleep consultant, I decided to create my own certification course. The reason I did this is because I noticed that something was missing in other sleep consultant certification programs, especially the one that I took, but I think that this is really across the board. What I noticed is that there was no community within these programs. I always say it was sort of like the blind leading the blind. People would come in and ask questions, and other sort of inexperienced people would answer the questions and sometimes give bad information. And I didn't like that there didn't seem to be any sort of checks and balances or making sure that good information was swirling around rather than bad information swirling around. I also noticed that there was no business training. There was no support for how to actually grow a successful sleep consulting business. This happens to be my favorite part. I love the business building piece. Of course, I love helping families and I want to see all the babies sleeping and all the toddlers sleeping, but I also want to see those who are getting into the field launch successful sleep consulting businesses and be able to position themselves to grow financially, because ultimately, you know, especially when you get into work like doula work and sleep consulting work, we do this because we want to help families and we love babies and you know, we love supporting moms, right? But also this is our livelihood and we need to figure out a way to make it sustainable so that we can continue to do this work and not feel burnt out and love what we do and really grow our income. I think that that's important. So inside of CPSM, we place a really heavy emphasis on business building and entrepreneurship so that you can learn how to successfully launch, grow, and even one day scale your sleep consulting business or doula business. Use sleep consulting to scale your doula business.
So, which is why I think this is such a good fit for postpartum for any doulas, because and I know someone always calls me out because I'm always talking about not, I call it the hamster wheel of trainings. Like so many doulas just keep taking trainings because they think they need more experience before they can work with clients. And I'm always like, no, you need marketing. But I think getting trained about around sleep consulting is so beneficial for so many reasons. First of all, like I said, sleep just makes anything better. So if you can, work this into your doula work, it's another skill. You can possibly raise your rates. And then the bigger thing is, especially postpartum doulas, but birth doulas too, like after we've worked with clients, they know us, they like us, they trust us. We're the first call, I always say, when, we work with them for 3 months and then we're like, okay, bye, you're good to go. And then the 4-month sleep regression hits and they call us. So wouldn't it be great if you could offer them sleep consulting as a service? And it's a way to work with these families in between them having their babies. You don't have to wait 2 more years till they have their next baby if you can provide sleep consulting services in between. So it's a great way to add another income stream to your doula business, which is just a super smart idea. So Jayne, let's just break it down and start from the beginning. When I say sleep consultant and sleep consulting, what exactly do you do as a sleep consultant?
Yeah, so I want to say that first of all, I support families virtually, which I know a lot of people listening are wondering, like, is this something that I do in home, similar to my postpartum doula work, or is this something I can do virtually? The answer is you can do either one. I specifically teach the virtual model of this business. That doesn't mean that anything you learn from me can't be applied to in-home work. It can, but if you decide to enroll in CPSM, you'll learn how to support families virtually. What that looks like is we teach parents how to teach their children how to sleep independently. We're establishing healthy and independent sleep hygiene for children. I specifically work with families that have babies as young as like 10 or 12 weeks, all the way up to about 7 or 8 years of age. So we're working with older kids too. You don't have to, but you're going to learn the skills and the tools to help older children. And, when people think of sleep training, a lot of the time they think of cry it out or whatever. That's this, okay? That's like the tiniest little piece of what we do. What we're doing is we are teaching children how to fall asleep and back to sleep independently. There are so many ways that you can do that. And we are coaching parents through the process of establishing these healthy and independent sleep habits for their children.
And this is one thing I really like about your specific certification program is that it's very doula-like in that you teach your sleep consultants to meet the parents where they're at, come up with a plan that works with them, just like as doulas. Like, we don't come in and be like, well, here's how you do everything. Same with your sleep consultants. You know,
Yeah.
you learn all the science about sleep so that you can educate and help the parents come up with a plan. And if that means cry it out, they can do cry it out. If it means, you know, this other end of the spectrum, you can help them with that too. So that being, you know, it fits so nicely with kind of the doula role. So it's really
Absolutely. I always like to say that I like to enroll students into CPSM who are open-minded, don't have their own agenda around what sleep should look like. I mean, I have my 2 children. I know what I do in my home, and that is almost entirely irrelevant to the way that I support families. I meet families where they are. I coach them through methods that align with their parenting style and that feel safe and comfortable for them. Most of my clients, especially when it comes to older children, a lot of my clients are coached through a sleep training technique that I would actually never implement in my own home, just because I don't have the patience for it. But most of my clients who want to take a really gradual approach and they want to be on the slow boat, like, I coach them through the slow boat, and that is totally fine, and it works. It all works as long as you're consistent and as long as you're supporting families in a way that works for them. I think the easiest way to sort of like mess up a sleep consultation is to support families in a way that doesn't feel comfortable for them, because when they're uncomfortable, they're not going to do the work, and when they don't do the work, they're not successful. The whole way that my business grows is by meeting families where they are and coaching them through methods that align with their parenting style and that work for them.
So that being said, what age range does your training cover?
Yeah, so we're covering like newborn all the way through like elementary age children. You're going to learn sleep shaping techniques. You're going to learn just like the foundation of how to establish healthy and independent sleep hygiene for newborns. I personally don't work with newborns because all of my work is virtual, and I find it to be too time consuming to be texting with my clients all day. You know, newborns take a million naps a day. So like, I don't have the capacity to support parents virtually through like newborn sleep shaping at this time, but I do teach it. And a lot of those who go through my program do coach through newborn sleep shaping. But the program covers newborn up until like elementary age. I personally coach from like 10 or 12 weeks all the way through 7 or 8 years old.
But someone who's a doula, who's in the parent's home as a doula,
you're going to have the tools from like the first, you're going to have the tools from day one.
And who, you know, thinking of yourself, doulas, thinking of yourself compared to the other doulas in your area, like if you have on your website or if you have this certification that you say like, yes, as your postpartum doula or as your birth doula, I can help you with establishing healthy sleep habits in those first few weeks and helping you maximize sleep, like, guess who's going to get hired?
Totally. I see that this is actually, it's interesting. When I first launched Center for Pediatric Sleep Management, I think it's been 3 or 4 years now that we've been up and running. I actually never intended to train doulas. I thought I would be training stay-at-home moms or teachers or, you know, people who just wanted a side hustle. And I recognized very quickly that it was a really great fit for postpartum professionals, doulas, newborn care specialists, birth doulas as well, because birth doulas are sort of working job to job and you're on call and you have all of this sort of blank space in your calendar waiting for a birth. And virtual sleep consulting is a great place to like fill those nooks and crannies. What I recognized really quickly once I started training doulas is that it's really positioning all of you to earn a higher hourly rate in your jobs. If you're going on interviews and you're sort of being compared to other doulas that don't have this certification, if you can bring your paperwork that you're a certified sleep consultant, parents are going to hire you 9 times out of 10. 99 times out of 100, parents are going to choose you, and they're willing to pay the few extra dollars an hour because you're worth it. You're going to establish those healthy sleep habits, and they know that if you're going to do the job right on the front end, they're not going to have the struggles for months or years on end on the back end. It's also another opportunity, as Darcy mentioned, to support families down the road. I work with families. I've had so many clients that hire me to implement or to coach them through sleep training at 6, 7, 8 months old. And then they reach out to me when their kids are 2.5 because they're climbing out of the crib, or they reach out to me because they have a new baby in the house and now they need to worry about the baby. There's so many circumstances where families come back and you are already, as Darcy said, you're the most trusted sort of non-family member in their family, and they are going to come to you with these struggles. And rather than outsourcing them out to a sleep consultant, you may as well take it on yourself.
Right. And like you said, it's such a great way to, the one thing I struggled with in the first years of my postpartum doula business was I'd go do like a 4-hour shift, but I didn't have time to squeeze in another 4-hour shift before I had to go pick my kids up from school, but I still had some time. Like if I could have spent the other 2 hours of my day doing some virtual sleep consulting, like it's, again, just such a great way to add another income stream and boost your revenue while really helping families. And I was saying to a doula I was talking to yesterday, like I was so sleep deprived, and I'm also a very, very frugal person. So when my kids were babies, like I didn't spend a lot of money on gear or clothes. Like I was like, I'm on maternity leave. I'm not going to spend a lot of money. But if someone had come in and been like, I can get your babies sleeping longer, I would have been like, take my money,
Take all my money.
So, and I always joke with you, Jayne, I'm like, I don't see why all the sleep consultants aren't all millionaires, because it is the number one question, problem that new parents have. So if you can help them with those sleep issues, everything is going to be better. So anyway, so tell us like your process of, because you're talking about supporting clients virtually. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what it looks like for me. The beauty of sleep consulting is that you really get to do this in a way that works for you. So inside of my program, you'll learn my process and what it looks like for my business. And a lot of those who graduate from my program end up creating programs that look similar to mine, but you don't have to. I just want to say that out loud, that like, if you decide to do this work, you can have your business look whatever works for you, you get to do. My business, I do a 2-week consultation. I charge $750 for this virtual consultation. I'm about to raise my pricing, but for right now, $750. And for that $750, they get a written sleep plan based on a questionnaire that they fill out in advance and based on a conversation that we have. They get a written sleep plan, which outlines, an age-appropriate daytime schedule for naps and guidance on feedings if necessary. We talk about the bedtime routine, and then typically 2 or 3 different sleep training techniques. And then we talk about how to handle day sleep as well. For older children, we're also talking about communication strategies so that the children are prepared and they're on board with what this whole process is going to look like. So after my clients get the written sleep plan, we get onto a phone call, go over the plan, answer all of their questions, make sure that they're comfortable. And then they have my support via text message for 2 weeks. And then sometimes we do a phone call at the end if they want to, not always. So as far as like time spent, it takes me about, I'm so fast at writing sleep plans now. In the beginning, it definitely took me longer, but it takes me 20 or 30 minutes to put together a written sleep plan. It's another 30-minute phone call and then text message support for 2 weeks, sometimes a phone call at the end. So all in, for me, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours of work. So it's pretty good money. I support 10 to 15 families a month. I used to support 15 to 25 families a month. So it used to be a lot more volume, but now I'm more focused on training others. But you can easily make really, really good money doing this work all from home while caring for your own kids, or even on top of the work that you're doing as a birth or postpartum doula.
Yeah. So again, it just fits in so easily. Sorry, I thought everybody was muted as they came in, but it's not. So, I mean, and you have doulas in your program that are earning 6 figures.
I do. Yeah.
So amazing and awesome. I love it so much. And I forgot to mention that you have a podcast called, is it
I
called?
do. It's called, I have a podcast. Thanks for mentioning it. I have a podcast called Becoming a Sleep Consultant. It's my newest passion project. I absolutely love doing it. Once a week, I come out with an episode. Usually it's an interview with somebody who's been through my program to share their experience and their journey through the process of growing a business. It's not about, we don't talk about sleep training. We're not talking about cried out or even sleep shaping or anything like that. We're literally talking about how to grow a successful business. And I've had interviews with doulas. I've had interviews with Darcy's been on my podcast. And it's really just a great place to get inspiration, even if you're not going to become a sleep consultant. I think it's really relevant to all of the work that you guys are doing as doulas. It's really relevant.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. So, all right, so let's talk about what's actually in your certificate, in your training. Because, as a postpartum doula, sometimes, a lot of times parents are like, oh, we want to try the Ferber method, or we're reading, all the book titles just went out of my head, but
Moms on Call or Baby
Yeah,
Wise or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
I can name all the books for you.
All right. So I love that your certification, your training covers all those. Like, you're going to know what these parents are talking about. You're going to, and you're going to have so many different tools to help them. So tell us a little bit.
Should I run through the curriculum? So if you decide to enroll in the course, it's an online program. It's self-paced. So you go through it on a timeline that works for you. There's no expiration date. You get lifetime access to the course materials and our Facebook group for students and grads. The first module is the science of sleep. After that is safe sleep. We follow American Academy of Pediatric safe sleep guidelines. I should say, for those of you who are doulas and you support bed sharing families and independent sleeping baby families, if you support all different types of families, that's totally fine, no judgment. From an educational perspective, I feel really strongly that I need to teach safe sleep guidelines. I have nothing against parents who choose to parent differently and sleep differently with their children, but I am hired by families who want to transition their children out of their beds. And so that's what we're teaching. So I don't teach like safer bed sharing. I respect it. I just don't teach it inside of my course mostly for liability reasons. But you're going to learn science of sleep, safe sleep. The third module is sleep as it relates to different developmental ages and stages. So what's going on with children at different developmental ages and stages, milestone wise, that can impact sleep positively or negatively, and how to handle those milestones and changes that you see. The fourth module is the sleep training techniques, to give you an idea of sort of like the spectrum of what we're teaching. I already told you we do teach the cry it out method, which is extinction. On the other end of the spectrum, I teach something, I don't even really know what it's called in real life. I call it just sit. So for example, a baby that is used to being nursed to sleep, perhaps we just start by rocking them to sleep. And after they're used to being rocking to sleep, maybe then we would just sit with them to sleep and hold them and shush in their ear. Once they became accustomed to just being held to sleep, then we'd put them down in the crib and do some shimmies and jiggles, or if they're rolling to their belly, back and tushy pats to sleep, and slowly weaning off the supports until the baby really was okay and comfortable with no supports at all. So that's like a really gentle technique. And then on the other side, we're putting the baby down and watching on the monitor. We teach it all, no bias, no agenda, no judgment, just like meeting families where they are, providing options, coaching them through methods that work for them. After the sleep, and then we also teach toddler and preschooler and grade school appropriate strategies, the chair method, silent return, incentive strategies, communication strategies, all of that good stuff for older children. After sleep training techniques is unique circumstances. So how to coach families that have special needs children, how to coach moms that are struggling with perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, how to talk to families about teething, travel, illness, all the stuff that comes up, in conversations all the time with parents and sleep. After unique circumstances is how to effectively coach your clients. So it's a communication section. You're going to learn how to write a sleep plan, how to get on a phone call with these families, how to coach them through it. You're going to learn like the whole process of working with the family. After that is the business building piece. This is my favorite module of the course. We have an hour-long training that's literally called How to Find Clients, where we literally walk you through every single possible avenue of connecting with your ideal client and growing a business. We teach sales, marketing, business growth strategy, and mindset work inside of the program. And then the back section is a resource library. It's a place to find articles, evidence, YouTube videos of swaddling and soothing and all that good stuff. And then also just like resources that inspire. I link to books, podcasts, articles, all sorts of resources that have inspired me in my business growth that I hope will do the same for you.
You do also cover twins and multiples, right?
Yes, that is in the unique circumstances section, which, isn't all that unique, but I guess it's a little bit unique.
Well, it's just one that really comes up a lot for doulas, because doulas often get hired when families have multiples.
Yeah, we also have training. This is another thing that comes up all the time, is like how to sleep train a breastfed baby. There's a lot of talk about like, can breastfed babies be sleep trained? I want to clarify for anybody who's wondering about this, that sleep training and night weaning are two entirely different things. I'm working with a little 4-month-old baby right now who is entirely sleep trained. She falls asleep 100% on her own. She, at bedtime, she is fed, she hears a story, her mom sings her a few songs, she's put into the crib, entirely awake, falls asleep, no problem, and goes to sleep. She's still eating twice in the middle of the night, but each time after she eats, she goes back into the crib awake and falls asleep independently. Now we're on our 2nd week of working together, and mom wants to work on scaling back some of the night feeding. So we're going to do that slowly. And this is a nursing mom, so we're going to just reduce the amount of minutes that she's nursing every night and simultaneously try and tank her up a little bit more during the day. And it's a really gradual process. And so, yes, you can sleep train a breastfed baby.
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that I get that question a lot, is if it's breastfeeding friendly, your certification, and it absolutely is.
I would say so.
Yeah, and again, not pushing one way or the other, but you do have some IBCLCs in your I think biggest, I don't want to say the best. One really great thing about your certification program is that it comes with the community. You have a Facebook group for everybody who's ever taken the certification. So, and it's a very positive group. People can ask questions. You're in there serving them all the time. But so there are a few IBCLCs in there. So
yeah, I think we have 3 IBCLCs inside of our community. We have 3 pediatricians. We have nurses, we have occupational therapists, we have parents of special needs kiddos, we have parents of multiples. We have all sorts of amazingly smart people inside of our program. And I always say that truly the program improves with every single person that enrolls, because when questions get asked, I'm not always the best person to answer them. And we have certain experts in different areas, and they have their own expertise. And, anytime anyone asks a breastfeeding question, I tag one of our resident IBCLCs and they chime in with their thoughts. And if we have a question about multiples, I tag somebody who has, and that's really helpful, because we come with our own personal experience and our own education, and everybody has something different to share with our community.
Yeah, which is amazing. So that is great. So how long does it take to go through your training?
Yeah, so I finally got the answer on this. So because the course is self-paced and it's a combination of reading and video content, I've always had a hard time answering this question, because some people finish it in 9 days and some people enrolled a year and a half ago and never finished, right? There's a really big range of normal. I always used to say about a month or 2 on average, but I just did a poll inside of our CPSM community, and the most commonly answered little box that was checked was between 40 and 50 hours of curriculum. So I'm going to go with that.
That sounds good. But again, it is completely self-paced. So So yeah, so anybody have any questions about anything? Oh, that's the other thing.
One of the questions is, do we offer continuing education credits? I'm working on that right now. Right now we don't, but I have my assistant, that is her project for the coming months, to get approved for all of the other sort of courses that require continuing education. So stay tuned on that.
And then Becca wants to know, does the certification ever expire?
No, it does not. Another question that people ask me, I feel like I should pull up the FAQs on my site because I always get the same questions over and over again. One thing that what do people ask me? Now it just came out of my head. What do people always ask me?
What? That you don't need
Oh,
to.
I know. Okay. So someone asked if it expires. It does not. The other thing is I don't charge an annual fee to remain a part of the community. Some of these courses, they charge you an annual fee to like remain certified. I don't believe in that. The reason I don't do that is because I want everybody to stay inside of my community and be helpful to my community, right? If you decide that you don't want to pay me the $150 a year anymore, all of a sudden I've lost you, and like you were way more valuable to my community than the $150 is in my pocket, right? So I want everybody to stay. I want the community to remain strong. I don't want people to have to pay to be there. I want them to want to be there.
And they do.
That's why I don't do that. Yeah.
And again, I'm always talking about which trainings to take, as add-ons to your doula business. And one of the things I tell people to consider is like, how fast are you going to recover this investment? And I think with sleep consulting, it's going to be pretty quick that you can earn back what you pay for the course in terms of raising your rates immediately as a doula, but then fitting in sleep consultations in between. So I just put the link there.
Somebody asked how much the course is. I think now would be a good time to share our little offer that we have for everybody. The course is $25.50 if you pay in full. If you go to thecpsm.com, you'll see that, Darcy, what you linked is not the full website. You linked the one where it says course at the end. That's a landing page. It's fine if you want to share that, but that's not the full website. It's, if you just type in thecpsm.com, that's the full website. The course is $25.50 if you pay in full. Darcy and I are going to be offering $250 off the price of the course if you enroll before the weekend is up. So we'll give you, what's today? Wednesday. So you'll have today, tomorrow, Friday through, it's a holiday weekend, let's say through Monday, right? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
You're going to save $250 with the code Darcy250. Give me a few minutes though, because my little coupon code program wasn't working right before this live, so I couldn't set it up, but I will check to see if it's up and running again, and I'll get that set up right after our Zoom. We do have payment plans that allow you to pay over the course of 2, 4, 6, 8, or even 12 months. The code will work on all of those plans except for the 12-month plan. I don't put coupon codes on that one option just because the monthly payment is already so low. Like if you would, it would bring the monthly payment down to like $40. So I don't do that one. But I hope that many of you will enroll, and please do continue to ask questions, and I'm here to answer them. Somebody asked if we have training cohorts. We don't do training cohorts because it's rolling admission and people are always enrolling. That being said, one thing that I do is I always make sure to connect people with others who are enrolling at a similar time so that you can create your own little like pod or posse or circle of colleagues. I don't necessarily pair you up with people who have just enrolled at the same time as you. I try to find somebody that I think you'll actually get along with and connect with, either because you're both doulas, or maybe because you both live in Texas, or because you both have 6 children, or, I try to find some sort of like common ground and connect you with somebody or multiple people that I think you'll hit it off with. But we don't create like actual cohorts, to answer that question.
That is a really good question. Let me think of some of the other questions I hear.
Everybody's being so quiet.
I know. So can you share, because some, cry it out story. So when,
Yeah.
I think this
I
comes
love
up a
doing
lot
this.
for doulas, we, don't want to deal with that or whatever. And cry it out just sounds so harsh. When I don't know, when someone says cry it out, I picture,
Yeah, everybody pictures baby screaming for hours. I'll share a cried out story, and I also would like to share that like this cried out story is pretty much the same as all cried out stories. So everybody has these like deep, dark, scary thoughts about cried out, and I just want to tell you what it looks like in real life 98 times out of 100. So I was working with, this was a couple of years ago. I always tell this story. It's fresh in my mind because I always tell it, but there's so many stories like this. I was working with a mom with a little 14-month-old baby girl. She was in daycare, falling asleep completely independently at daycare, but at home, she was being nursed to sleep at night and throughout the night, all night long. And at some point in the middle of the night, mom would bring baby into bed with her because she was just so tired and couldn't stand it any longer. And she hired me after trying all of the gentle stuff on her own. She was doing the shush pat, she was doing the just sit, and literally this little girl was screaming and crying for hours in her arms, okay? Like wiggling around, screaming, kicking, yelling, wouldn't fall asleep. Mom was just trying to hold her to sleep, not nurse her to sleep. That was the only change she was trying to make. And she called me after hours and hours of this, just like so depressed and down in the dumps. And I sent her a sleep plan with a few different options, the gentle stuff and the middle of the road stuff and extinction. And she ended up picking option 2, which is sort of my version of the Ferber method. I coach on it a little bit differently. We place a really heavy emphasis on listening to the crying rather than the minutes on the clock. If you decide to enroll in CPSM, you'll learn how to implement it. It's highly effective. Anyway, she decides to pick this approach where she's going to put her child down and listen for 10 minutes. And if necessary, do a check. If not necessary, stay out of her way. This child literally cried hard for 8 minutes, stood at the corner of the crib screaming and yelling for 8 minutes, and then sat down and sort of like fussed and whimpered for another few minutes and was asleep by like, I think it was the 18-minute mark. She was asleep. She slept through the night. And every single night since, like that was the end of it. Okay. This little girl, she cried hard for 8 minutes and then like fussed for 10, fell asleep, slept through the night. That was the end. Ever since, she's been falling asleep independently, maybe some fussing or whining as she's put into the crib, protesting that she's bummed that it's bedtime, but no intense crying and sleeping through the night. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that's what cry it out looks like. It is not hours and hours of crying. It's 20 minutes of a baby or a toddler being upset, and then it is trying, not crying. There's a difference between crying and trying, and we talk a lot inside of the course about how to listen to babies and hear their communication. Like, are they screaming that they need help or that they're panicked or that they're scared or whatever, or are they crying that they just wish they were asleep and they're not yet, right? So we're really in tune to their communication, supporting them when they need more support and giving them space when they're just trying to fall asleep and they're being a little bit vocal about it. So, and for those that are just like absolutely horrified by what I just said, that's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. And if you decide that you never want to coach parents through any of that, totally fine. I tend to think that these babies are crying because they want to be sleeping, not because they want to be whatever else. They just wish they were asleep and don't know how. So again, we're all about meeting families where they are and coaching them in ways that work for them.
Sonia has a great question about, is it required for the baby to be in a separate room?
No, actually a lot of my clients are room sharing. I'm working with a little 8-month-old now that is room sharing. He's in his own crib, he's in his own space, but he's in the room with parents, and that's very common. I support families that live in tiny little New York City apartments and they only have 1 bedroom. So it is what it is.
And the
Some
AAP, don't they recommend that the baby's in the same room for a year?
6 months now. It used to be a year and now they're saying 6 months. And we fully support that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about taxes? I'm not an accountant, but I do. I have an LLC and I file my taxes jointly with my husband, and my business income goes into like our general income, and that's how we pay taxes. Are we 1099? I charge less than. I charge less than. Oh, I charge more now. Wonder if I should be 1099ing every single person. No, because I pay them, they don't pay me. Nobody's ever asked me for a 1099, my clients.
No, they wouldn't. No.
Yeah, no, because it's a servant.
Um,
Okay, it's like, oh, I don't do that. Let's see, what are the other questions? Does the course come with a sleep plan template? Okay, so you are going to learn how to write a sleep plan inside of the course. We have an outline that includes everything that should be in the sleep plan. So like a welcome section and maybe a talk about safe sleep and then a paragraph about crying, right? So like we outline what should be in the sleep plan. That being said, we do not include templates because I want all of my sleep consultants to create their own sleep plans. And you're going to do that inside of the course. The final assessment is based on 2 case studies, an infant and a toddler, and you're going to submit written sleep plans for those 2 cases. And they are going to be entirely original and entirely yours. If you just sort of plagiarize my sleep plans, that's not your work and that's not your mojo, right? Like you need to have your own vibe. You need to have your own style. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you special. We're going to work to make sure that you come out of my program with that for yourself. That's really how you become successful, is figuring out how to say things in your own voice rather than using somebody else's.
right. And I love that. I want to mention again, like, though your training is self-paced and you're going through it, but you provide so much support along the way if they need it. So it's not like you're given a bunch of videos and then left alone. Like you are there supporting them.
Can we quickly talk what materials are included? Because like, no, you can't copy like my written sleep plans, for example, but you can copy my sleep chart, my questionnaires, my contracts. So there are things inside of the course that you don't need to like reinvent the wheel. The sleep plan, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but I do want you to crank out something that's yours. I do think that that's really important, but you'll have access to our charts and our schedule, sample baby schedules, all of that stuff, contracts and forms.
Awesome. Oh yeah, Carla's saying this sounds similar to childbirth ed, where you're meeting parents where they're at, which is so true. All right, I think that was all the questions. So I put the link in there again. Do it again. This is Jayne's Facebook group. You have a free Facebook group. That's the link I just put in there. In addition to your private Facebook group for your trainees. But I love the Facebook group because you share like success stories from your clients, and just there's a lot of really great information in that group on sleep. So like I said, I can't stress enough. I think that if you are a doula, adding sleep consulting in, so at least that you have this knowledge to share with parents to make their lives better, it's going to make you a better doula. And it's going to make you a doula that can earn more income. And that's what it's all about, so that you can continue to serve families and make the income you need so you don't have to find another job. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Jayne's program. I mean, I've had so many of the doulas that I work with as a business coach have gone through. Everybody simply raves about your program, Jayne, and you.
Okay.
And so if this is something you're thinking of, definitely check out Jayne's training and use the Darcy 250 coupon code before Monday, and reach out to her or me with questions that you have. And I know we'll be happy to help. Check out Jayne's podcast if you can find it on her website. That's another thing. I mean, just sharing. I like the episodes where you're talking to graduates about, you know, how they've set up their business and, you know, the success they're having. It's just awesome. So sleep is I always say it's like my pet project when I am working with families and now working with doulas. I just think, the entire world just needs to be sleeping more. So thank you for helping us do that. So thank you, Jayne, for your time today. Any last things you want to add?
No, thank you so much for having me. This was great. You know, I hope that anybody that's on the fence, please reach out, send me a Facebook message. Happy to hop onto a phone or Zoom call to answer any further questions. And, you know, I just want to articulate that it is my top priority to help all of my students be as successful as possible. It's a amazingly positive reflection on me when I have people who go through my program and they succeed. So I want everybody to be successful. I want them to get out there and grow their businesses, make more money, make more connections, do better work. That's how my business grows. So I would love to see your business grow so that my business can grow and we can all sort of improve together.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jayne. And everybody just reach out with questions that you have.
Thanks, Darcy.
Bye, everybody.